Guys, we have made it to game week 44 in this championship season. Only 2 official game weeks remain after this one, and teams need points at this stage of the season more than ever. And full disclosure, I am having to record today's prediction video before any of the midweek matches have taken place, as I am away this week while this video is going out. So I wouldn't have got the chance to record this video after those games have taken place. So if anything I say is a little bit out of date, that's the reason why. But regardless, we still have some fantastic matches to preview this week in the championship. I for one can't wait to get stuck in. Without any further ado, let's get in. Starting out with Birmingham against Blackpool, I'm not expecting a high intensity thriller in this one. The reverse fixture between these two earlier in the season did end goalless, and I wouldn't be surprised if this one ends 1 goal either way. Whoever gets that first goal goes on to win this one. Going off the shot data, both sides rank in the lower percentile in terms of how many attempts they tend to take per game. Obviously, Blackpool no longer with McCarthy and with Dobby, who's given themselves something a little bit different in recent weeks, but I think that Birmingham just have the edge in this fixture, especially with the home crowd behind them. Score prediction there, I'm going to go 1-0 Birmingham. Fancy the Blues for all 3 points. Next then to Bristol City up against Rotherham. This will be an interesting game for the Millers, coming off the back of those 2 games against Luton and Burnley, to Ashton Gate with a game in midweek. Let's not forget against Cardiff to think about as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Rotherham were happy to set up in this one looking for a point, and then they go into that midweek game against Cardiff, the rearranged one, really looking to attack it and sort of go for the juggernaut of all 3 points. Bristol City, a little bit unpredictable in this end of the season, as I think a few of the sides are in that middling part of the table, who probably will fluctuate a little bit in performances over these last few weeks because they don't have anything to play for. Still got some very good players in that side. It's just a question of how resilient this Rotherham side can be to their threats. I wouldn't be surprised if this one actually ends level. Score prediction in that one, I'm going to go for a 1-1er in there between them two. Next up then to Turf Moor for Burnley up against QPR. It is back-to-back away matches for QPR. They've got this one away at Burnley, which isn't going to be easy, followed by an away trip to Stoke, and then that sets up the final day of the season then at home to Bristol City. In terms of this one, if there's one side in the championship who can absolutely take you apart, and one lapse in concentration and they can kill you like that, that side is Burnley, and we've seen a few of those capitulations from this QPR squad throughout the season, it's fair to say. Burnley just got so many threats from different angles all over the pitch. I struggle to see QPR keeping a clean sheet, and to be honest, I struggle to see QPR not conceding at least 2 goals in this game. So prediction, I'm going 3-0 Burnley in that one. I think they've always been a little bit more prolific at home as well than they have done on the road typically this season. Next then to Cardiff up against Stoke. This one will be a really interesting game, and a game which could set the momentum for Cardiff's midweek fixture for Rotherham as well. Whether or not Cardiff would be happy to take a point from this game and then look to go for the juggernaut in that midweek game against Rotherham, we'll wait and see. I do think there is an opportunity here though for Cardiff. Don't get me wrong, I have been largely impressed by this Stoke squad, especially in the second half of the season. I think there's a really solid spine to that group of players at the moment, but Cardiff have to take advantage of those sides who don't realistically have anything to play for at this point, and to take all 3 points in this game would be a huge statement and give them that little bit of a lift going into that midweek game against Rotherham, which will be so crucial. Score prediction in this one, I think the first goal is big. A draw wouldn't surprise me, but I've just got a gut feeling that Cardiff may sneak something. Sabri Lamucci will pull something out of the bag. Score prediction there, going to go 1-0 Cardiff. First goal is very important. Next then, and a big game between Cardiff and Reading. 2 sides going for very different things at the moment. From a Reading perspective, their final 2 games of the season are looking mouth-watering already. A home game against Wigan, followed by that last day of the season clash against Huddersfield. Can they go ahead and sneak anything in this game? Well, in the reverse fixture, Reading did come out on top in this one. 1-0, they managed to nullify the threats that Coventry had going forward, but typically they have struggled on the road so far this season. When it comes to set pieces and things like that, that's been an area where Reading have got a fair few of their goals so far this season, but generally speaking, this Coventry side have actually been one of the best defensive units in the league when it comes to defending set piece situations, so I actually think they'll nullify those threats from Reading fairly well. When it goes to pound for pound, weighing up both of the attacks as well, I think Coventry just have more favour in that regard. So score prediction here, going to go 2-1 Coventry, which doesn't do Reading many favours. Next then to Hull up against Watford. Hull have been playing all the sides in and around the top half of the table recently, haven't they? Another interesting clash here against Watford as we get to further understand this Hull squad, where they are at the moment and what they'll need to add on to that group heading into next season, which I'm sure is the sort of thought in the back of every Hull fan's mind at this point in time. Against this Watford side, who have been largely unpredictable, more so in the second half of the season with the high turnover of managers, the different ideas, players we've seen playing in various roles throughout the season and not being able to nail down a consistency in terms of either a starting spot or where they're actually looking to hurt the opposition. A score prediction in this one, Hull could sneak it, but I think I'm edging towards a draw actually. 1-1, I'm saying between these two. After that, to Carrow Road for Norwich against Swansea. The return of Russell Martin to Carrow Road. I'm sure that he'll get a good reception there. In terms of Norwich, I think they absolutely need to take full advantage of their remaining 2 home matches. This one against Swansea, then Blackpool at home on the final day of the season. Really think they need to be taking maximum points from those 2 fixtures. This one will be close. In the reverse fixture, there wasn't an overwhelming amount between these two. Norwich just snuck it on the road, 1-0 in the end, and obviously maybe this is the type of game where Swansea will be a little bit more happy to surrender the possession a little bit and then look to pick Norwich off on a few of those openings that do tend to open up every now and again in their back line. With all that being said, I think with the home advantage in this one, I'm going to go with Norwich, but Swansea, end of the season, always capable of causing an upset, particularly with Russell Martin going back to his old stomping ground there. Score prediction in that one, I'm going to go 2-1 Norwich. Next then to the DW for Wigan up against Millwall. Thinking back to the reverse fixture, this was one of the few points that Kolo Touré actually picked up during his tenure as Wigan boss. The overall record was fairly shoddy, 9 games, 0 wins, 6 losses, but there were 3 draws in there, and one of them did come away at the Den. And whether or not Wigan have that same fight about them in this one, I'm not so sure, but I don't think there'll be a million miles between these two in terms of, I don't think Millwall will blow Wigan out the water or anything like that. Obviously goals have at times come at a bit of a premium for this Millwall side, but I do see them getting over the line for 3 points in this game. Obviously top 6 continues to be on the line, and I'm going to go 1-0 Millwall in this one, which will give them a booster going into their final couple of matches. After that, to Preston against Blackburn, and I am both excited and nervous in quite equal measure going into this game, but I'm sure it's going to be an absolutely brilliant atmosphere at Deepdale from the home, packed out away end and everything like that. And yeah, with everything on the line, this fixture could be absolutely bonkers, and I'm all here for it. I can't help but think back to the reverse fixture earlier on in the season, back in December, with Preston beating Blackburn 4-1 at Ewood Park. It was the first game back from the World Cup break. Preston had a fair few players out injured, to be fair, but we put in arguably our best performance of the season, and what I'd give to give a similar performance in this one. Blackburn since that point have matured quite considerably and have a few different threats to actually contend with since we last met in December. Preston's home form has improved of late. Obviously, we're coming off the back of 2 away matches coming into this one. How do I see this game going? My head says it'll be tight, and I wouldn't be surprised at a draw, but I'm going to go with my heart here and say 2-1 Preston, and we'll do the double over Blackburn this season, but that'll be a good game. Next then to West Brom up against Sunderland. I'd be interested to know how many sides have done the double over Sunderland so far this season, because that's what West Brom could do in this fixture. Thinking back to the reverse one earlier in the season, it was back in December, around about the time when Corberán first took over. This fixture was part of that great winning run that West Brom originally went on. They shut up the league from that point. Since that fixture, quite a bit has changed between these two, and they've been fairly similar in terms of an overall points return this far into this season, often being sort of in and around the fringes of the top 6. I don't think there'll be all too much in this game, whether or not Sunderland's flair players can look to take advantage and force a mistake from that West Brom backline, which has been a little bit creaky from time to time. Score prediction in that one, I think I'm going for a draw, you know. 1-1, I'm saying, between those two, but wouldn't be surprised if either side nicked it by a goal. And then our final championship match of the weekend taking place on Monday night, we have Luton up against Middlesbrough. All of the championship will surely be tuned into this fixture because it has the potential to be an absolute cracker, potentially a dress rehearsal for what we could see in the championship playoff final. Who knows at this point, but yeah, I'm expecting a really good game between these two. The reverse fixture did go in the favour of Middlesbrough. They won last time out between those two, 2-1, but Luton, especially at Kenilworth Road, have got something about them at the moment and don't tend to lose many matches on home soil. I don't think there'll be much in it in this one between these two. I think that both have had really good seasons where they've each grown into this season, got stronger as the weeks have gone on, and heading into these final few game weeks of the season, these two really have been neck and neck. For a score prediction, a draw wouldn't surprise me, but my gut feeling's just saying, at Kenilworth Road with that Luton crowd roaring them on, I think they may just sneak this one against Borough. Score prediction there, I'm going 2-1 Luton, which would be a big result. And before we do round off today's video, we also have some FA Cup action to dive into as well. Sheffield United, the Championship's sole representative in the FA Cup semi-final, and I mean this one really is David versus Goliath. Sheffield United versus Manchester City at Wembley. Blades fans, want to hear from you guys who are heading down to Wembley. I'm sure regardless of what happens on the pitch, it'll be a fantastic day out. And I mean, listen, Man City are just on a completely different level. We saw what this City side did to Burnley in this same competition and how good Burnley have been in the Championship, and Man City just absolutely wiped the floor with them in the end. And Pep Guardiola is that sort of manager that does take these cup competitions very seriously, even against lower league opposition. He's not one who will let his side rest up or anything like that, or take Sheffield United easy, so I'm fully expecting Man City to be going full throttle at this one. An FA Cup semi-final at Wembley, anything could happen. I'd love nothing more than to see an upset on the cards, but I'm not sure I can see it if I'm honest. Score prediction, I'm gonna go 3-1 Man City. I'll say the Blades will get a goal at least. But guys, there we have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Obviously a little bit different because I'm having to record this video in advance before any of those midweek fixtures have taken place. So hopefully all of my predictions and everything I've said in that one do still make sense and everything like that. But regardless, if you have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and do get your predictions in the comments down below. Apart from that though guys, thank you for tuning in and I'll see you all in the next one.